This is New Rural Virginia, reclaiming rural leadership through conversation featuring real voices, real issues from the heart of the Commonwealth. Well, welcome back, y'all. I'm so glad that you're here and listening to New Rural Virginia podcast. I'm Parson Brown.
And I'm Larry Wohlers, and we are your podcast hosts. So, Parson, I think we've all had moments in our lives when, something unexpected happens, right? A medical emergency for us, for a kid, maybe an elderly parent that suddenly need help in transition to a different kind of assisted living. And that can go on for days or weeks, and dealing with that crisis can become a full-time job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so true for most Americans. And that family crisis would also become a financial crisis. And because if you've ever had to take time off work, or some folks even lose your job too, or you could be maintaining to keep the right to return to your job, but you've lost that income.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And so it's situations that most of us couldn't afford to lose that income and would not be able to, would be in bad shape for even if just for a few months.
Right. And that's why we're so excited today to have a chance to talk about a really historic moment here in Virginia. Our legislature just passed the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act. It hasn't had a whole lot of coverage, in part because it's not going to take effect for 2 years, but it's going to give employers and employees something they've never had before in Virginia, and that is the ability to help workers really just survive, right, when they have these sudden caregiving and medical events in their family.
Yeah.
And it'll obviously help the employees, but it helps their employers keep a good worker on the rolls, right?
Yeah.
And, Virginia's not the first state to do this. There have been a number, but we are the very first state in the South to pass it.
I'm so glad that we're talking about this today. And my biggest question, the biggest question on both of our minds is, what does this mean for rural Virginia? And
exactly.
To help us understand that, today we are thrilled to have one of the bill's sponsors, Senator Jennifer Boysko. Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome.
Well, thank you, Parson and Lawrence. I'm happy to be here with you all talking about this.
You've been working on this legislation for a number of years. So tell us why, what motivated you, and why did you think this was so important, and why did you feel it was so needed?
Yeah, so Parson, I have carried this bill for 8 years because, it's been a long time. This usually in other states where it's been passed, it's taken a long time because you have to work out what works best for your state.
Uh-huh.
And as a parent, as a person who has had my own health problems, but also hearing from constituents and people from all over the Commonwealth who've had, whether it's an addiction problem, whether it is caring for a parent as they are at the very last stage of their life, wanting to be with them, whether it is having your own really serious illness. These are reasons that you need the grace and the ability to care for yourself without going bankrupt. That's exactly what this bill does. And the crazy thing here is that every other industrialized country in the entire world gives their employees this benefit, which is paid family and medical leave.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. And you say it took 8 years. The need obviously is very real, and yet it did take 8 years. And that I think is because the law, putting this into a law is really complicated, right? So from your perspective, what are the most important pieces of this bill? Why was it so hard to do? What were the trade-offs that you had to make?
Well, it's intended to be a universal policy so that everybody who is working has the ability to take advantage of it. And what it will do let's just imagine that you made $50,000 a year for approximately $5 a week, about $250 total. You would pay in, your employer would pay in. And then when you had a qualifying event, which would be determined by the insurance program, just as your health care does, you would have the ability to leave work to care for yourself or your loved one for up to 3 months, for 12 weeks, and you would still get 85% of your salary. And so if you made $50,000, we're talking about, $3,546 a month. The federal program, the Family and Medical Leave, allows you to take that time off, but it doesn't pay. And so more than
Exactly.
more than half of Virginians don't have the ability to take advantage of that. This really gives grace to everybody. And, again, I know everybody has a story in their family. They needed to do this, and they had to make that difficult decision of whether or not take time without pay and miss being able to pay for stuff, put stuff on credit cards and go into debt, or just ignore the situation and power through because you had to make ends meet. It's a terrible dilemma for families.
Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned the qualifying event. Who determines whether my concern is qualifying or not?
That's a great question. And that was one of the big questions from my colleagues as we were going through this. They thought that they would have to, as the employer, would have to make that determination, but that's not accurate. It is an insurance program. So it will run through our VEC, our Employment Commission in Virginia, and it will be determined through the VEC, just as unemployment insurance is. And then you can just think of your health insurance. Your insurance company manages that. And just to add an additional piece, one of the things that we did add was allowing companies to go through a private insurance program that is so they could equally purchase a premium, a policy through a private provider as well if they chose to, that met the same benefits that our state policy will do.
And that would be presumably because they want to offer even more than what the state requires?
Or if they just feel like they want to use the private industry, that would be their ability to do that. And that was something that we changed through the years of doing it to continue to broaden. I understand that people appreciate a public-private partnership, and so we didn't want to hold anyone back from being able as well.
Okay.
Now, the Republicans, correct me if I'm wrong, but they nearly unanimously voted against this legislation. Am I right?
Yep.
It was completely a partisan vote.
Yeah. So here in rural Virginia, almost all of our representatives are Republicans. So it's pretty safe to say that they will be telling their voters that this was a very bad idea, and that they will be saying that it will be especially bad for small businesses, and small businesses are really important to the rural economy. That whole line from their perspective. And they will probably say that this is effectively a new tax that will put a big regulatory cost burden on businesses that can barely make ends meet as it is. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'll break it up into a few pieces. One, I served on a national bipartisan commission looking at early childhood outcomes, and it was filled with Republicans from Kentucky and Alabama. It was a bipartisan group, and the number one indicator of success for youngest children was having a paid family and medical leave program in place. And we talk about family values. This is the way to put our money where our mouth is. And I know that we all want the best start for our kids. So giving them that ability to stay home with their kids, moms and dads, is one. Secondly, a lot of businesses already attempt to cover the cost for their employees and just pay out of pocket. This allows them, and again, I'm going to go through this again. If your employee makes $50,000, you are only paying in $5 a week, about $250 a year. We're talking the cost of a cup of coffee. An employee gets 85% of their salary. If they're making $50,000, then they're still able to bring home $3,500 a month, which is, you've paid for probably your entire employees by just having one take the benefit. So I think it's short-sighted. I think they were looking for something to attack because we didn't raise taxes anywhere, and they didn't they didn't have much to argue on. But this is something that is a proven way of helping families manage in the worst of times and also in the best of times, giving them that grace to care for themselves and their babies. And, if you don't mind me giving you a personal story.
Please.
I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. They are both grown. One of them is married and one of them is engaged. But when my second baby was due, I got one of those really terrible pregnancy-related diseases called preeclampsia. It was a especially terrible of it. And I called my doctor. It was 2 months before the baby was due. I called my doctor. He said, why'd you go on to the hospital? And within seconds of them examining me, they said, oh my God, you're about to die. You've got a terrible disease. And my toddler is standing next to me. And
Wow.
hearing the doctor saying these things, turned out we had to we had to deliver the baby. She was in the NIC unit for 6 weeks. We were 20 miles from our house. And then I got discharged.
Wow.
The baby stuck 20 miles away. The toddler is supposed to be starting preschool. And my husband didn't have a family leave opportunity because we were living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
30. And I managed by myself to care for my baby and get back and forth. But gosh, he would have liked to have had the ability to pitch in, but we could not afford it. And I think a lot of families are facing that now, and this will give them that grace.
That's a fascinating story. And I'm very intrigued by what you were saying at the beginning, that this bipartisan commission found that this kind of paid family leave was the most important issue for children. Why is that?
Well, from birth to age 3, that is the time that baby's developmental capacity changes at breakneck speed. The things that happen to a child between the time they're born to age 3 helps lay the foundation for their future. And if they have a loving parent or 2 loving parents at home with them, caring for them, and are able to bond and feel safe, that sets them up for success in a way that nothing else does. I mean, it's just an essential part of early childhood development. And states like Alabama have legislation in front of them right now. Again, Republicans and Democrats all want their kids to have the best start possible. And policies like paid family and medical leave are proven to enhance that and improve outcomes for those kids and for the families.
Right.
Right.
The other
That's a really
thing,
important point.
Yeah. The other thing is that, speaking from a rural perspective, like we really have this strong sense of taking care of ourselves. Rural communities have a strong self-reliance that's kind of built in. Like we're supposed to be there for our families. It's expected. We don't need government to take care of us. And it won't a law like this just be abused by those that are too lazy to work. That's me paraphrasing what others might say, but there is that viewpoint that comes from a lot of my neighbors. So how do we respond to that sort of mentality when it comes to this type of legislation?
Well, certainly. So there has to be documentation for it to be a qualifying event. You can't just call up and say, oh, I'm having some aches and pains and I'm not going to go to work for 3 months. You have to have doctors' input. You have to show documentation. And again, the qualifying events, let me go through those so that it's really clear. It's the birth of a baby or adopting a baby or being a foster parent, bringing someone into your home to welcome a baby or a child. It is a serious illness, not a cold, not the flu, but cancer, an addiction, recovery, treatment, something of that sort. It is caring for a loved one, a parent at the end of their lives so that you can sit by their bedside.
Right.
Die. It is having a loved one who has been deployed in the military in a wartime and bringing them back home and spending that time with them. It is a domestic abuse or a time when you need to leave for safety. And it would only be, you would have a month for that. That's a limit for that one. But these are qualifying events that are not just someone comes up with an ID and calls their boss. this is a process just like when you need to have surgery, your insurance has to be approved and then you
Right.
can go ahead. And we have seen in other states where this has been done, in the 14 other community, other states in the District of Columbia, that they are not abused. They are not overused. People are thoughtful and judicious when taking the leave. And you already have the ability to take the time off. This would just assure that you don't lose your shirt, right? You're not going to go back.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that helpful to explain?
Yeah. My dad, who runs a small business, he would have, back in the day, I remember stories of, his employees who was like, they're, such and such has buried their mother 3 times in the last 4 years. And and it's like, oh man, I don't know. Just to quell those types of thoughts, like there has to be documentation for these qualifying events.
Yeah. And, I'm from the Deep South. I'm from Alabama, and I understand self-reliance and, not relying on the government. The government's not paying for anything. You're participating in this. This is us having a thoughtful and organized way to manage these big issues. The only thing that we are allowing our Commonwealth to help facilitate that, but it's our money that we're putting away so that we can take that time off. And I think that's maybe a better way to reframe it, because it's not a welfare. It's a self-insured program that would be the beneficiaries, we who are Virginia.
Yeah. Well, I think, for small businesses, it's clearly good for them if their customers, right, who don't actually work for them, but who are working for other small businesses, are able to keep their salary and therefore able to continue to come and do shopping and all of that. At the same time, I do understand that small business is thinking, hey, I'm going to lose someone for 3 months. I have to figure out how I find a replacement. And then when the original employee comes back, then have to let go of the person I just hired, all of this. You were looking at other states where this has been implemented. What are you seeing from small business organizations in those states after they've actually seen it operating? Are small business organizations coming around in those states and saying, hey, this is actually working out better than we had thought? Or not?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about our bill that we included was, if you have a company that is 10 or fewer employees, then the employer doesn't have to pay into the program at all. Only the employee does. And what we've seen in other parts of the country is that it not only does it increase employee retention and loyalty and employee satisfaction, but they are able to manage these times. And again, these are things that are already happening. People are going to continue they've been having babies. They have had parents who have passed away. And a lot of businesses try to manage it without any help from anybody already. They are already, these are not newly manufactured challenges. This is a way for us to manage in an organized and more structured process. And there is a part in the bill that says that the employee needs to work with their employer to manage the time away as reasonably as can be done. So
this is dealing with issues that, this is real life. These are things that happen in everyone's real life at some point, realistic situations that we all face.
Yeah, exactly. All of us are human first, and we have to be able to care for ourselves. If I get cancer, I have to get treatment. There's just not a choice about it. It is not an option.
Right, definitely.
One of the things that we did not clarify is that the insurance pays for me, the employee. My regular salary that the employer has could go to a temporary person, and many of us have worked temporary jobs before. That's not, and like you said, especially in our rural areas, people want to pitch in and help. And so it's perfectly, reasonable that folks from the community would understand that, Mr. Jones is going to have to be out sick because he's got cancer. And so
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart might come in and temporarily take his
course.
place for a time. You know, again, communities want to take care for themselves. This is a tool that assists communities of all sizes and employees of all sizes to employers of all sizes to better manage these life events that are already happening to all of us.
This is a fascinating conversation, you know, a really important one. Thank you for sticking with this for 8 years.
Yes, for being a champion for this
Yeah.
important work. Seriously, thank you very much.
Well, I think it's an important issue. I think that families need some grace and the ability, right? This is an affordability challenge that so many of us are facing. And today I see a need for it more than ever. So it's been my honor to carry this bill and to fight for it. And my colleague Breonna Sewell in the House of Delegates has worked on it for a while as well. It's an important thing for us. And I hope that families will understand that this will benefit them and their workforce in their communities as well.
And then just to repeat, this will not take effect for 2 more years. Is that right? And that's because you wanted to give businesses time to prepare for this?
That's correct. We wanted to give businesses time to prepare for it. We wanted the public to understand, and we also need to set up the program so that it's a workable, process. In every other state, it's taken years to ramp it up as well.
Right.
And I look forward to seeing in 2028 when it goes live for everybody.
Now, is there anything in the meantime that, we can do, especially for our listeners in some more rural areas, that we can do to further strengthen, to further support these efforts? Since that's a long time to wait for it to go into action for all the right reasons. But how can we stand in solidarity and help move that along?
Oh, thank you for that question, Parsons. I think that talking about it, helping people understand that this is something that happens in every other industrialized country in the entire world. It's okay that if we have a very serious illness that we can care for ourselves without breaking the bank. Just continuing to have discussions, understand what people's questions are, and then helping respond in a thoughtful manner to what the concerns are. There are groups like Main Street Alliance, which is 30,000 small business association that is firmly behind this policy. It exists in other states, and they have seen real success with it. Lots and lots of mom and pop companies want to do this for their employees, but they don't have the capacity. A lot of the big businesses already do it. And
That's right.
we're not inventing the wheel here. This is something that we should be able to expect. And I'm very happy to see that in Virginia, we will have this for our residents, people who are working hard every day to put food on their table for their families and be able to give grace when the big things happen that they can't avoid.
You're right about that. My daughter works for a larger company, and they have this. So this does allow smaller companies to really step in and be able to offer the same kinds of benefits.
Yeah, it allows them to stay competitive with those big businesses, and it allows Virginia to stay competitive, especially with the younger workforce. They are looking to make certain that when they bring a new baby into their families, that they're going to have some time to bond with them. And that's
absolutely.
We want to make sure that they want to come and work and live and make their home in Virginia. And this is another tool. I've heard the governor talk about this a lot too, Abigail Spanberger, that this is actually raises our competitiveness in Virginia to have this policy. We want to be best for business again. We want to be best place to live and work. And I believe that this is absolutely an essential tool for all Virginians who are living their lives with their families.
Right. And that's a really great point, because you do hear from those opposing the legislation arguing that this will make Virginia less competitive because it raises costs. But the flip side is actually you are making yourself more competitive with the employees you want to keep.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, $5 a week for your employee, and then they get 85% of their salary.
Mhm.
It seems like a pretty good deal to me. The cost of a cup of coffee to make sure that you've got that landing for when you do need to step away. And other states and every other industrialized country in the world provides this benefit. You know, California, New York, Connecticut, Delaware.
All right.
The list could go on, but
And let's be honest, less than the cost of a cup of coffee.
yeah,
And a lot of places.
Mm.
yeah, less than. I mean, you didn't get a grande at the local cafe anymore for $5. So
Right.
yeah, and very moderate. Minnesota is one of the states that has done this. It is similarly, the population has a mix of urban and rural.
Mhm.
These very similar demographics to Virginia, and it's been a success. Delaware, another one. I just saw the Congresswoman Sarah McBride who got that passed and continues to say what a big change it was for them in their state. We can do this, and we don't need to be afraid.
Mhm.
And
And because this is modeled as insurance, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's insurance, it pays for itself, right? So
Right.
it won't be an additional burden on the state budget.
correct, that's absolutely right. It will be a self-insured, self-funded through the individual contributions that are made from the employees and the employers, and it will not have a budget. Right, it will not be part of our budget on an annual basis.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's really important for people to know.
I do too. I think it's really important to know. And again, we are concerned about affordability. We want to make sure that we are using our funds as efficiently and thoughtfully as possible, and understand that everybody's life is not like one person's, that we need to be able
That's
to
right.
full scope of the Commonwealth. And I come again, my family lives in, and I'm getting ready to go see them soon, lives in a town less than 3,000 people in Western Alabama in the Black Belt. I understand rural communities. The first time my husband went to visit as my boyfriend, my stepfather pushed him into the truck, gave him a cattle feed, and then kicked him out and said, "You're feeding the cows," as a way to say, like, welcome to the South. So
To the family.
family, yeah.
That's great.
I
Great
get-
story.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I appreciate that y'all do this,
yes.
and certainly we need to see that we're all more alike than we are different, and we're
That's
all
right.
sitting at our kitchen tables worried about the same kinds of challenges, and hopefully this will be a tool to help families in every corner of the Commonwealth to get some grace and care for themselves and their loved ones when the best times and when the worst times happen.
That's right. Well, it's so
Thank you.
important that people understand what's really in the bill and how it's going to impact them. For those who do have questions, employers or employees, where is the best place for them besides this podcast to learn more?
So we will be in the process of having the Virginia Employment Commission put together the new regulatory structure and the entire system. So as I would guess reaching out to the Secretary of Labor or the VEC or my office probably be a good first step. You're always welcome to reach out to me directly, and I'll give you my contact information. My email address is Senator Boysko, and that's like the word boys, BOYSKO, like knockout, Boysko. Senate.gov. And people are welcome to reach out to my office directly, and we can help get their answers to their questions.
Yes, it's Senator Boysko at senate.virginia.gov. Sure. We will share that in the comments or in the description area of our episode info. So that'll be there for y'all. Jennifer, I know you said for us to call you Jennifer, but I got to call you Senator. Senator, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we can continue checking in and see what else you're up to and follow the progress of this important work. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's right.
I'm just so grateful y'all called and asked and are interested in this to help, amplify this good policy, and just appreciate you all talking directly to rural communities in Virginia. I think it's really important and appreciate the time.
Well, there's been so much important legislation coming out this year. And so we look forward to talking with you and others about what's been passed and what it means for rural Virginia. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You
Enjoy.
too.
Thank you.
All righty.
Bye.
New Rural Virginia Podcast, Conversations about Rural Virginia's Future, is a product of New Rural Virginia. Visit newruralva.org for more. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow us. We're available anywhere you get your audio. For deeper dives into the topics we cover, catch additional insights and stories on the Rural Angles Substack newsletter. This program is produced by Larry Wohlers and yours truly, Parson Brown. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.